Welcome to another episode of Resortera Wave, World Cup edition. Thank you for all the watches in the first one we did after the game against Poland. Around 200 views. That's a big, nice mark for Oscar and I, as we have done these, I want to say, in the last 2 months or so. Not the result we wanted, defeat against Argentina 2-0. A lot of mixed emotions. You can start sort of thinking ahead what's going to happen for the 2026 World Cup at this point, or you can still have one little bit of hope that El Tri could all of a sudden score goals in this World Cup and wait on the result of the Poland Argentina and see what happens. No, um, the next opponent will likely be France, which automatically uh, puts you eliminated maybe out of this one. But at least you keep that streak going, no? The round of 16 streak that they've started since 1994. But yeah, those are quick impressions. Oscar, thanks for joining me, and the feeling, no, after that defeat, that no se pudo hacer más, no. There was never that moment where you thought El Tri is gonna score here.
No, yeah, thanks. I wish it was under better circumstances, but I'm pretty upset. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, usually with the Mexico games, we like to message each other about the game. Even in the first half, I think you sent me a message, but I was just so upset. I mean, from the since we started, I get the first what 50, 60 minutes we did all right. We defensively we were a bit organized, but the
Aguantaron más
approach
que
didn't.
nada. They were just able to hold it up, hold the 0-0 as long as possible.
That's the positive. I give them benefit of the doubt there, but yeah, Nayib, I'm upset and I'm not upset because I think hopefully this is a good wake up call, starting of a good wake up call hopefully for the federation.
Yeah, no, and that's what we'll talk a little bit more forward about. What can this affect the federation in a sense, or just the vision of the national team looking forward? But when you look at the lineup, it was what cinco atrás.
Hmm.
The surprise was Araujo going into the 11. HH. The midfield was a little bit. It changed it a little bit. No, that sometimes it was like this.
Hmm.
Sometimes Guardado would go down to support HH on one side, and Chavez would be kind of the lone attacking midfielder. Kevin Alvarez got his first start in the World Cup after a solid year with Pachuca. Up top, Chucky and Vega, two players with similar qualities in the sense of how they like to move in the wings. Not your typical goal scorer whatsoever. They're just two players that are capable to dribble, um, capable to go face to face with the opposing defenders. Shout out to Licha Martinez and Otamendi. They were very, very strict on their marking in the back line for Argentina, and then made it hard, no, to find those huecos, no. The lineup right away, as you said, Oscar, it gave the aroma that Tata wanted to protect the zero, no, protect the draw at all cost. Um, the first 45 minutes, they were able to cause a little bit of problems to Argentina and frustrate Argentina most of all, not really causing problems in Martinez's goal. Um, but it was one of those games of just aguantar and see if some miracle happened up front. El Tri hasn't scored at this stage of the World Cup, and I think that's an issue that of course we can expand on. But those are few of the standouts so far, no, Oscar?
Yeah. Quick questions for you, Nate. When you saw the lineup, did you worry Chavez more than anything would struggle a little bit because he was kind of like the right interior, being a left-footed, and you kind of saw it at times in the first half, a little bit like he didn't always, he didn't feel comfortable at all trying to use his right foot and trying to open up the plate. It always had to be with La Surda, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Pero I think that did cause to effect. But then that's when once Guardado got injured, which to me it changed completely everything a
The
lot in my
motion of
opinion.
the team a little bit, it got it down as well.
Organization structure a little bit as well.
Hmm.
that's when I was like, okay, perfect. Put Edson, who was supposed to start regardless, who should have started, which was a big issue too, I think. Um, would slot in with
And put
Achache.
Chavez on the left
Exactly. You get someone that would help a little bit more in the transitions, because how many times did you see that it was just a pelotazo to
to these
Vega
two.
on the left hand side, and it was literally Chucky against freaking three defending Argentine defenders, and it's vice versa with Vega. Like, what were we gonna get from that? Because, like you said, I think Tata was very much trying to frustrate the Argentine team, trying to hold the zero, and Gallardo and Kevin Alvarez did no overlaps whatsoever.
Yeah,
Or
so this is
Achachi
something that
pushed.
you were thinking. Edson, put him right here in the middle, La Chache,
Yes.
mándalo un poco más adelante with Chavez as the left. And Kevin right here, of course. Um, it's a big surprise that Edson doesn't even get a single minute in this game. I don't
I
know if
thought he would
there's an
come in at least the
injury.
second half.
I don't know if there's an injury involved that, maybe it's tactical, maybe se le reveló Edson a Tata or criticized him in a tactical decision in the training session. And, because Edson is very vocal. One of the things that a lot of people don't know about Edson is when he doesn't like something, he says it out loud. He's not scared, especially after what he has lived in Ajax. He has a leadership quality, a leadership sense to him. And to be honest, the decision to not play him in this sort of game is a slap to his face. It's a slap to his career because of what he has done in the last 2 years. This is a guy that has sacrificed a lot to go to Ajax, made a name for himself, and Tata se ha casado. He's married to the whole idea of starting Achache no matter what. And Achache is in a regression, is in a clear regression. I'm not gonna say that Achache would have blocked Messi shot because it's one of a kind shot. But Achache was barely walking towards. You leave him wide open on the end of the box. Maybe Edson does the same mistake, but I think Edson would have been given more vitality to the midfield. When you lose Guardado, the vitality leaves because Guardado was actually pretty good on the pressing triggers on that left side. And what you said about Chavez, that's one of the things I hadn't thought about. It wasn't Chavez's best game because he was uncomfortable on the right side as being a left footed. Not only that, Chavez felt comfortable with Edson in the midfield in the first game against Poland. There was something building there, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of talks before this game was, oh well, he hasn't really tried the back line of five, but let alone he hasn't even tried this midfield too either. With Achache, Guardado, and Chavez present. Um, if the midfield worked well in the first game, no le cambies. Did Guardado provide a little bit of spark? Well, yeah, he did. He did in the captaincy and everything, and he played his first World Cup. Pero si te trabajó bien HH, Edson, and Chavez in the first game, just keep that same midfielder and add Araujo in the back like he did with the three center backs. But he changed it a little bit, no? And we didn't expect Guardado to get injured. That's another thing too. We didn't see that as a possibility, but it happened. But those are the things that really, really struck me. That something is not. It's just because we don't have that many players of that caliber in Mexico, and to just leave
Exactly.
him on the bench is very, very strange.
Exactly. Like I said, I wouldn't mind him changing. Like I said, that was big. That was big to me. I told you I was really worried once I saw that lineup. Like before the game even kicked off, I said,
Yeah,
if this is the lineup with Araujo there, give granted to him, Nayib. I don't think he had a horrible game. He had that one iffy situation where he did an Araujo thing. He tried to like dribble it out, and he got caught, and then he got a silly yellow card. But
yeah,
if you put Edson there, that would have gave him. You would still have Edson there to cover in the interceptions and cover more ground, and also allow Chavez to worry about just trying to distribute and create rather than covering the ground, make up the ground that Achache and what other was doing.
yeah. Because at
And now
then, and then,
Guti,
and then Chavez was uncomfortable the whole game because even when Guti was in the game, he still stayed on the right. No,
I not too naive. I thought Guti was
he
really
didn't
poor,
step up to
naive,
the occasion.
really poor as well, naive. I think, in my opinion, I'm gonna be harsh here. I think he was involved in both goals.
Yeah,
You want to blame Achache for Messi, not I give him the pass because that's Messi. How many I've seen Messi do so many goals like that in the quick, just a nice quick first touch and release, and it's a goal.
Yeah.
With it, over here, you could have prevented where the ball was. If you watch the replay, Di Maria had the ball, and he had so much space. If that was even Guardado name, he wouldn't have given him that much space. He literally gave him his whole left foot to find someone across. Guti. The
Yeah.
same
So
thing with the corner.
yeah. 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 No, and this is how it ended. No, this was sort of like the idea of Martino. He went back to the 4-3-3. Araujo finished the game as a right back. Um, and this is the options you had off the bench: Antuna, Alvarado, and Raúl. I said it. I mean, if you're gonna in this sort of game, you need to keep Chucky the whole 90 minutes, because if El Tri is gonna score a goal in this World Cup, it's gotta go through Chucky. There's no other way. But the point about Guti, I think is really on point. I don't know what is the difference between what he shows in PSV and what he shows. It's just it's like black, white and black, no, day and night, no. That's the sort of type of Guti doesn't evoke confidence with El Tri, no, and he really makes these silly mistakes of not following his man, or just loses focus. To be honest, it's just he's not. It doesn't take over the stage. The stage takes over him, and it didn't. It happened tonight, and it happened against Uruguay. It's just he doesn't know what to do. Is he talented? He is talented, but there's some players that know how to play with the national team, and there's other players that don't know squat about playing in the national team. And I think Guti is one of them. He's just not a national team player, even if he plays in PSV.
Yeah, I mean, I think you sugarcoated a little bit there, Naib, with Guti. I'll put in simpler terms. I think it's just the quality at the end of the day. You want to say PSV and your national team, pero it's PSV, Naib, with all due respect.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
this
no, but
team.
in PSV también la rompió Guardado, Moreno too, and they do well in the national team. But there's other players that just can't. They don't know how to take over the moment. The moment takes
No.
over them, and that's one
I
of the
think
things.
Guardado and Guti, it's completely way off, in my opinion. Pero
Yeah, yeah.
let's just leave it at that. Otherwise, I'm just gonna get carried. I'm upset now. I mean, you saw when
No,
I came.
no,
I was
no, no,
upset.
no. And it's normal to be upset. I mean, it's a loss, but at the end of the day, it's a result that wasn't sort of surprising. No, it was sort of a result that you could expect. I think that there was a little hope or ilusión before this match because Argentina had lost against Arabia Saudita or Saudi Arabia. They weren't in their best form, and it shocked them. But I think their attitude in the second half changed, and they got someone called Messi, and that played in their favor, no? And right now El Tri has some options to make it out of the group stage,
Yeah, that's
but
true.
it's not looking so good because, as I said, I mean, this World Cup is turning into one of the worst ones since 1978. In 1978 they finished with I believe 0 points, but they at least got 2 goals. Now
Yeah,
they got 1 point and 0 goals. So
the
I
goal drought
mean,
starting to show a little bit. I mean,
yeah.
if we go back even from the last World Cup, we didn't score against Sweden, we didn't score against Brazil, we didn't score against Poland now, and then Argentina. I think what really bothers me more than anything about today is it's just the way we approach the game, Naib. I think the way I would have approached the game, I think you have to be, the same thing how what happens with Mexico all the World Cups. Jugamos como nunca y perdemos como siempre. At least we play,
No, pero hoy
you
ni
know,
jugamos, ¿no? Como...
exactly. That's the issue. And then you add that, and then with the bad result, man, it's just awful because watching the United States,
In
outplay
Canada.
England, Canada outplaying Belgium, both teams who deservingly deserved to win, and they didn't get the results that they probably deserved. And then you see the Mexico national team kind of hide, and in my opinion, it's hiding, Naive. I think you're hiding. You don't take advantage of an Argentina team who is low on confidence. The pressure is on them. You could sense it all through the first half, Naive.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
not? play your game. And then, I mean, I don't mind the way we approach the game like that. Though my issue was like, it was solely just don't lose, because you saw the counters. At least most counters, you want to get two, three, at least four people get it on the transition.
But it was
When
just
Mexico in the
Chucky
transit, it
and
was just
Vega.
Chucky. Like, how to? It's just that naive. I think we just didn't even want to play. Not necessarily don't want to play, but we just didn't want to get scored on more than anything.
No, no, and I think when you bring that up, it is part of the game. The way that you want to interpret it. Um, but like you said, if you want to score on the counter, you needed more support, and I think the support wasn't there. Um, it is one of those situations where also I think the debate of or the mention of like the talent that Del Tri has, that's as much as we have right now. There's no more talent available that could propel the national team to play at a level like the U.S. and Canada. I think that's something that a lot of people are going to be saying in the next hours. Um, I think the worry right now is that the U.S. and Canada are younger in average age, and Mexico is old, no, and with average age, and there's not that much generational shift going on that suggests that the things will improve, no. Um, but that's es lo que hay. That's what we have, no, and the direction and who makes the decisions in the FMF. I think they gotta look themselves at the mirror now and really understand that they're falling behind. Yes, right now the U.S. and Canada haven't won a game, and maybe they might not even win one.
Exactly. Yeah, they still might, but still.
But stylistically, and when you look at options generated and so forth, those national teams have generated options to score. El Tri has hardly generated options to score. And that all falls also on Tata because he selected the players.
Hmm.
He trusts Antuna, El Piojo Alvarado, gives all these minutes to Martin and nothing happens. Keeps giving minutes to Raul even though Raul is not 100%. Leaves
How
off.
much? Also, there, Naib, real quick. How much responsibility now does Raul take into this? I mean, we just saw um, Karim Benzema, who pulled out and said, "You know what, guys? I am physically not able to.
Yeah.
Let me step away, and one of my counterparts can do the job." Raul has to step up and be like, "Tata, I'm not. I can't do it. Even I know as much as I can because as a player, any pro player,
Yeah.
even anyone who's played at the
Any
high school,
player
whatever,
wants to play a World Cup,
they're gonna
no?
say, I'm gonna play. I'm good." But you have to be the bigger man, and you have to be a team player more than anything, Naib.
No, no, pero fíjate, it's one of the things, it's a good point you bring up. It's also, like, for example, what happened today with Edson. He doesn't play. And he sees HH, and he accepted the millions to go to MLS, and todo bien, he's playing in the World Cup. That's also a slap in the face. Like at that point you said, Raul is not healthy enough.
Or even Araujo too.
Why is it, all these crashes and sort of things. um at the end of the day, we know what happened to Raul. What was it, a year or 2 years ago?
Exactly.
Horrific injury, I understand that. And he was the starter, undisputed starter for Tata from the start of the proceso. But the reality is that he's been bad since coming back from the injury. Of course, he hasn't been the same Raul. But Tata maintained him as a starter, no matter what. No, and of course this happened. This other injury happened, and he decided to keep him on the boat. No,
Yeah.
but so that falls also on the manager. Because for
Yeah.
example with Tecatito was out. No, Tecatito was out from the moment that Sevilla told him that this guy can't train until December. But of course there was that little hope that Tecatito could also get in the boat and go to the World Cup. Um, I think it's an interesting point that you bring up about Raul. Maybe he should have just stepped aside. But also, there's just that idea that he wanted to really be part of the team and he really wanted to play. He ends up playing, but he doesn't get much on the field.
And I understand it. Like, Naib, we have to understand too. Sometimes fans, the human element to it. I mean, you add all that, the accent and everything, and that I do admire Tata with it because he understands the player on a human level. Pero like, this is life now. Life is just like that, man. Life is just so cruel to you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
unforgiving, and that's just life. You know what I mean? You can be on top of the world, and something that's deserving is right there for you, and life will take it away from you, even if you don't deserve it. And I think, like in this case, I think this is the criticism with Tata too. Like, how many players should you have, like Eric Sanchez today? I think I would have rather just had him than Achach. I get
Or
the
then
aerial,
Guti, eh? El Chiquito
exactly,
is
Eric
playing
Sanchez.
better than El Guti. No, and this is
So,
also where it gets confusing is we might put too much emphasis on Chiquito Sanchez, but I just feel that you said it in the beginning from the World Cup, even before this thing started. If you know that Sanchez and Chavez are playing at a high level together,
yeah. And the
try to
Chavez, more than
replicate it.
anything, Chavez is the perfect example of, I get it. You don't just want to bring someone, just because they had a good 3 months, 6 months. But with Pachuca in general, they've been having a good year at least. Just bring him over. I mean, same thing with Kevin Alvarez. I think he had a good game. Wasn't great, but he was better than Jorge Sanchez for me, without a doubt. I think. Um, but yeah, I just think a lot of different finer details. You're starting to see quality and stuff and all that type of stuff. And like I said, it's not solely all blamed on Tata as well. You know what I mean? I mean the Achacha situation, the Araujo situation.
Yeah, that Araujo, look, Araujo did what he could in the position that he was put today, and he wasn't so to blame for on the goals or anything. I mean, I think he solid, okay, just normal, was average. He just fulfilled the specific needs. Um, the thing is, when you think about teams, and I don't know if people watch the Denmark France before this game, but that's what modern football is right now. The pace, the precision, the transitioning. El Tri is nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. After
And you
what
know
we
what?
saw today in
And
the
and
Argentina
that's
game.
okay, Naive. That's okay. What are we gonna do to tackle that?
Exactly. What happens next, or how do you get to, or how can you compete at that level? Because the thing is, Canada and the US being in the same situation that El Tri will be in the next years, forever now. How are they gonna? I mean, some of the most important players are in Europe. That's one thing. I mean, their most important players are not in MLS, and let it be. Canada's base is in MLS. A good chunk of them. Um, but I think it also the professionalism, the culture, the way that things are run. It's different. I think Mexico is its own animal in the region, no, because of how the Liga MX works. The market there is so different to MLS. Um, and so that's different as well, no, the sort of this idea or privilege, I think, that the Mexican footballer has to say, you know what, I want to stay in Mexico my whole career. I'll live a pretty darn good life, and play World Cups. Which is, a good example is Gallardo right now. Gallardo's on the verge of playing two full World Cups with Mexico without ever going to Europe.
Heck
And
of
that
a
will
World
be,
Cup too, Naive.
yeah, and that will be an asterisk on his name though, because you would say, "Man, I think this player could still get better if he would have gone to Germany or to Spain and see what happens." No, there's nothing wrong in trying it and then coming back. And I think sometimes though in Mexico you victimize the one that actually tries. Because for example, right now it's easy to
Linus
say Linus. Well, Linus went and now he's benched, but at least he's over there trying.
or Lane,
Macias,
like me.
Macias was over there with Getafe. It was horrible. It didn't turn out well, but at least he tried and he went over there. You know, and I think this idea that things in Liga, you see Japan beating Germany, for example. Well, that's a good process that's been going on for years. And now they got the result against Germany, being down 1-0. It's not, they came back. So you use these examples, and El Tri is sort of just lagging and falling behind, and
It
and
feels like we
just
plateaued every
I think we
since
plateau.
'94.
I think our highest peak was 2006. In terms of like evolution and trying different things, being innovative. And since 2006, everything has been a little bit on the line. There was a minor peak with Osorio in the sense of like, oh, they're trying these different ideas. The player looks motivated. They want to try. They're out there, trying new things. Very, very smart tactically, but it hasn't been like, oh my god, 2006 level. That's how I feel, from looking at after many, many years. Is I just feel that after 2006, our level hasn't really. I mean, and let it be, man. We had players like Giovanni and Bella. Those are special players. Just because, not just
Depending who
because
you
they
ask,
won.
but I agree. Yeah,
You know,
it's a
I
thing
don't know. I
too.
haven't seen a Gio Vela for the U.S. or Canada. Well, of course, Canada has Alfonso Davies now, and the U.S. has Pulisic. But
Reina, he's
right,
good.
so those it's the things of evolution as well. Um, I do agree though with the notion that we're falling behind. We're really, really regressing, and I think this World Cup will probably prove it. Um, can they still beat Saudi Arabia? Heck yeah, they can still beat. I mean, Poland did it. But the regression is evident, especially when you look at 2014 up to now. The coaches that have been involved. Um, there's no advancement anymore. I mean, it's just a bunch of regression at the moment, and I think that is an issue that will keep haunting El Tri for many, many years unless they do some sort of project that legitimately says that this is a long-term project. This is not gonna change in 4 years. This needs 8 years. It needs 12 years. If you want to one day aspire to play at that level that France and Denmark or Spain, or to just compete. Look at Brazil. Well, Brazil competes because they have a style. They've been there forever. All of their players are playing at the best level. But it wasn't easy to beat Serbia. Physical Serbia, at the end it was individual talent with Brazil as well. Charlison, that amazing goal. So it still takes it. It's not easy to beat the teams nowadays.
No, exactly. Yeah. No, yeah, Naib. I think a combination of that. If I can I just add to it, I feel like since 2006, every time we think we made a step forward, we take two steps back more than anything. Like I mean, just think about real quick with 2000. Go what went up to that. We competed well in the youth tournaments. We won a gold medal, but then we take some steps back with the qualifiers.
Yeah.
And then people forget too, Naib, heading into the 2018 World Cup, 2016 Olympics, we crashed out in the group stage for the Olympics,
And that was a
and
good generation.
that was Chucky, Salcedo, Montes, and I think they finished bottom of the group night too. So that just goes to show is we have to be consistently, good, not just a one up. You know what I mean? Like we can't have one good tournament here and then drop down all the way down here. It just
Yeah.
can't happen.
And now you're not going to the Olympics or the Youth 20 World Cup. you know?
Yeah.
So you lose that generation in a sense. You don't prepare it adequately. That's the thing. Because the US also had to deal with no Olympics and stuff, and they still managed to find um, ways to prepare the generation. No, but when you look at their lineup, you look at McKinney and Musa and Reina and Pulisic and all these players that are barely they're playing their first World Cup, and they're gonna play their next World Cup with more experience, no? And El Tri doesn't have that.
But the exception of like let's say Guardado, who has waited out in Betis and deserves a nice payday after this World Cup. I mean, even with the U.S. name, they have this kid, not a kid, this old man kind of Ream.
Ream,
He
but he's
he
playing
plays
at
for
Fulham.
he's playing at Fulham, competing. You know what I mean? He could have easily gone back to the MLS as well. I mean, that just shows a little bit discrepancies too. Just touch up on Martina Tune. How many informed players do you wanna would have thought to use today? Because I mean, you brought up Brazil. Would it be deserving so 2 years ago? Um, I don't know, probably not if you ask the Brazilians, but the fact that he was just so on fire, they took him, and that just goes for a lot of Netherlands. Xavi Simmons too.
Yeah, with PSV.
A year ago, he wasn't playing at all,
Yeah,
and now he's playing. Like, and then even now with the national team, who could actually offer, because the level of Ache Guardado in our midfield isn't too distant from a Pocho Guzman, and Eric Sanchez, and Acevedo for the goalkeepers. I'm trying to think a defender who could a fullback that we could have used that was in form right now. But I think we did bring all the best ones we could.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for example, it is what it is. No, the whole situation of the what ifs and who could have you brought in. Um, Maybe there's a change. Also, with the managers, you need a motivator in El Tri that is very vocal and effusive. Um, that shows some type of determination in the messaging to the players, no? And Tata lost it, I think, after the losses in the Nations League and the Gold Cup. His message was very bland. It wasn't evoking that much encouragement. And I think that also lost the dressing room,
You think?
because they didn't buy to the belief. I mean, a lot of the players right now for El Tri are playing for the sake of El Tri not looking bad, no. And I think that's one thing. When a Mexican footballer takes the field and they see that the whole stadium is green, because everyone goes, it does a little bit impress you, and it catches you, and you're like, man, we're not playing good enough. I'm pretty sure the players thought that through their brains as the game happened. um, but it is one of the national team. El Tri is its own study, because to be honest, the performances on the field don't merit to have a fan base that is so devoted to make a 10-hour trip to Qatar, and spend all these loads of money.
Get these
um,
loans out, dude. I don't even know how they do
I
it.
don't I don't even get it. I mean, some people that go though, and these are Mexican fans, they don't even know who's playing on the field. They just go because it looks nice. That I went to World Cup, so that explains a little bit about the Mexican national team. Is so you're telling me you go to the World Cup, but you don't know five of the players that are on the field. And that actually happens, because I've seen all these color interviews going on YouTube, and there's girls that are like, I don't even know who this player is, or boys too, or they're just like, I just come because I got the
Vibes.
money, you
Yeah.
know. So that is crazy to me, and that's a football culture in Mexico though. Cuando sale el mundial, everyone gets rowdy. After the mundial, a lot of fans forget about the national team. But what lo que vende vende. The ratings are high, and everything, and El Tri is always going to sell. It doesn't matter what the situation is.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think they're really falling behind in the region. I think this is a big one of those moments in the history of Mexican football where you're really regressing. I mean, it's pretty evident now. I don't think there's a way back. I don't know if there'll be a way back from this, because it's really looking like a serious regression going on, stylistically, and also football wise.
Yeah, Nayib. I mean, I think too. Some of it's definitely not in their control as well. I mean, we talk about how porque Argentina, Brazil, these guys can ship over, 50 guys in one transfer window, but también stuff like passports too. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think people know that in Argentina, a lot of those guys they have passports from like Italy and also
Yeah,
whatsoever
yeah.
based on the ancestry. Same thing with Brazil. A lot of them have the Portuguese passport and the Italian passport. So it makes it easier to make that jump abroad. So if you're in Mexico, right, and your European team trying to scout a Gallardo, for example, are you going to pay the 14 million and then a foreign spot, or are you going to get two Brazilians who they're probably
Yeah.
going to be world class in 10 years? Gabriel Martinelli, a perfect example, came from the fourth division, cost maybe 5-6 mil, and look what he is now with also with the Italian passport. So that is too. But
Those are little
también
details that I think a lot of
little
people don't
details.
realize.
So
No, but I think to close out this show, and it's been all over the place a little bit at then, analysis. It's lots of thoughts. I think it's just like our therapy session. Um, when it comes to the national team, I think El Tri will do something if they hire football people, if they actually get a good bunch of brains from Mexican football, and make them work on a plan that will be long term. And I'm talking about there. You got people like Peláez, you got people like La Volpe there, you got Chucho Ramirez out there, you got Bucetich, you got Tuca Ferretti. I don't, Tuca, you're not gonna coach. Just let's try to do something. Let's plan something or leave something behind that we can work with, and then we'll see what happens. But if the decisions are taken by business people, nothing's gonna change. It's gonna stay the same. Like, don't expect any changes. Um, I think it's very important to recognize what we have, respect it, and then maybe something happens in a couple of years. But a lot of decisions have to come from football people that know the ins and outs of Mexican football. Because for example, Gerardo Torrado was the sporting director, but what experience did Gerardo Torrado have to merit that position? He was just
Exactly.
barely a retired footballer, played in Europe, of course, but also played, I think, in Indy 11. But that was it. No, there wasn't. You need someone that has been in football for many, many years. Look, and Peláez' time with Chivas wasn't good, but es lo que hay también. What Peláez did in Cruz Azul, what he did in America, it was good. You know, I think even Peláez had something to do with the U17s in 2005. I didn't even know that until I heard a story. So, okay, get Peláez and let's see what happens. Porque that's what we have. We don't have anything else. And I think it's important to work with people from our country. Ya no queda de otra. We can bring someone from Brazil. We can bring someone from Portugal or Spain. But we've tried it and it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't work.
I
So,
think it would work, but they would have to know the Mexican game first. Like este de Pumas, his name is running through my head.
Lilini.
For example,
Yeah.
or if we got like someone
Well,
from another
La Volpe's success is because he knew Mexican football.
exactly, or someone even if we got Europeans, Nayib, I wouldn't mind them coming over,
Like
understand.
Almada now. Okay, let's see Almada. He's done well with Santos and Pachuca. If he wants to be the Mexican coach, he does deserve an opportunity because es lo que hay. There's who else do you put? Do you put Piojo? Do you put Bambris?
No,
That's what the market offers, no?
yeah, I put him and then put like you said, put people who know about the sport. It's okay, I get it. Like I think we've talked about. I've mentioned this too many times. Like, that soccer, football has become a business almost first rather than a sport,
Yeah.
and I understand that. But with the national team, there's so much potential because, like I said, we have the resources right there. We already have it. It's so like for example, there's something real quick that I think that could just cancel each other out a little bit with the partidos modelos. I don't mind that, but when you do them, just bring players 23 and under that are starting with the Liga MX. I
Yeah.
think that's a good way, and you're still gonna sell. You're still gonna get your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone under 25, it doesn't matter. Even if they're not even, some of them are bench players. Just bring them. They're all young kids
Yeah.
with the senior head coach. Something simple like that, where you get your
Something
money and you can
simple.
still something simple
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
There's a lot of ways of looking at it. I mean, but I think ya veremos. Ya veremos. I think El Tri still has a chance to make it out of the group stage, and but it's very slim. There's no goal. I mean, they got to score. I think 3 goals or something, and then look at what
Oh, and that's
happens.
the we messed up with the we really messed up getting that second goal more than anything. The one goal, we're like, okay, maybe something happened, but
No, and then looking at it from a grander perspective, they should have beat Poland. I mean, they had tools to beat Poland. They just couldn't, and
no, I
it's
think you hit the nail right in the head on our last one, where you said you knew the result, what was coming that came from Saudi Arabia and Argentina. Take advantage of it,
just
and that
go
goes
with
for
it.
Poland too. They didn't go for it either,
No,
but
no, no.
and we should have
And,
lost technically that game. That
yeah, yeah,
penalty went in.
and you knew you were gonna lose against Argentina. I mean, out of 100%, there was like a 95%, well, 97.5% that Argentina was going to win, and we had like that little percentage there. But yeah, that ends it for the Resortera Wave Show. We'll see if we record one after the Saudi Arabia, depending on the situation. I think today we gave all the conclusions possible as to what can happen to the national team after it gets eliminated from this World Cup. Not the grandest of performances. There is a clear regression going on. Let's see how it ends or how it can evolve a little bit or get out of this regression. But the regression is happening. Thank you, Oscar, for joining me. And we'll see what happens in the rest of the World Cup. Keep enjoying the games. There's phenomenal football going on. A lot
That's
of
true.
0-0s. But, tactically, it's just going to get better.
Thanks, Nayib.